the first time that I interviewed a basketball player was you back in 2020. And I asked you about your shoes, and you're still wearing Kobe's.
Yeah.
Tell me why.
Yeah, they work for my feet, along with some insoles, obviously. But the 4s, 5s, 6s, like those are the ones that I move the best in, feel the best in, and I like the style of them too. So it's a win-win for me.
Okay. And talking about the game, it is harder for you and your teammates taking good shots when Indiana is playing full court press.
Yeah, I mean their pressure, at least with some of our main guys, is more just to get us out of rhythm. I thought we got pretty good shots, even on some of the attacks early. I was able to get downhill, get layups. And then obviously just flowing into our secondary stuff is probably the area where we can improve a little bit.
Hey, Six, how many of those final few minutes back, the 12-2 run, what'd you take away from those last 3 minutes and change, and how'd you think that this small ball lineup could have been better?
We You give them credit. They made some big shots, some tough ones. There wasn't too many possessions where I think that we had, maybe execution errors. And then obviously, we missed a couple shots. Shea got some great looks. Some of that probably comes down to not, putting ourselves in a position to where the game comes down to that at the end of the game. Being a little more efficient in transition. Maybe not forcing it at the rim, playing off 2 feet early in the game, and just spraying the ball a little, getting them behind, and extending that lead from 10, 12 to 17, 18, 20 points, just so if they do throw in shots like they did and we miss, we've had the game in control.
And you sort of mentioned that, hinted at not converting on the turnovers. When you watch those possessions back, like, what's sort of the common thread? Why weren't you guys really scoring after trying to move?
Yeah, I think a couple times we were just a little unlucky. A couple of times they did a good job of getting back. We had turnovers maybe like 93 feet, and it was hard to get the advantage. And then a couple of times we just didn't have our greatest advanced pass, cross court pass game, and we almost tried to slow it down a little too much, and instead of kind of matching maybe the pace that Indiana plays out, which we've played at as well, and I think we're good at, and I think we'll do a better job of that.
Now, how many times do you look a game through or the ending through after a game like that? Is it in memories, or do you actually sit and watch it over and over and over again on things you could have done differently?
I mean, you go back and watch film. You have to if you were going to try and improve. So, yeah, we've gone back and watched it as a team a couple times, just on different scenarios. I'll go back and watch my minutes personally, like I do for most games, just to see where I can improve and see, how different areas in the game are being affected when I'm on the court. But maybe that night after the game, it's a little hard going to sleep. You're thinking about plays you could have had back that add up to 1 or 2 points, and there's probably quite a few of them. But after that, I mean, you got to flush it. You got to put it back to 0 because the next game's coming.
Were you thinking more points or points you should have taken away? I mean, on defense or offense? What happens there?
It's both. It's, missed a free throw, missed a couple open shots. I messed up a scram with Shea at the end of the third quarter. That's 3 points. Missed a coverage with Hart. I gave up a layup to Matthew. Like, you can go through and add it up for both teams. Depending on who you are and what the scenario is, it's a little bit of everything.
Billy, in Tyrese's last shot, did you think he was going to find Pascal? And is that a situation where are you watching the eyes and the hips and everything? But what, you went with Pascal. Where was your head? Okay.
Yeah, I was kind of playing to. I wish I probably would have looked at the clock a little sooner just to see what time it was, because I don't know if he would have been able to get off a pass if I would have gone and doubled or just ran at him and made the shot harder. So I didn't know if he was gonna have enough time to throw a pass to Pascal, and I didn't feel like there was a great deal of protection behind me at the time, at least enough for him to miss the shot. So I just tried to peel off and go and box him out, because over my basketball career, I've probably lost more games off second chance shots at the buzzer than guys making game winners. So just trying to do my best to keep off the glass, but obviously shot work.
Ellie, what have you seen from AJ to get back to this point as a rookie through his injury now to play in the final?
Yeah, it's really admirable. He came out and he was playing really well early. Just a really silent, humble guy that goes out there and has extreme skill. in toughness and competitiveness that maybe doesn't show up because he's not yelling, screaming like I do, other players. But to go through that injury and to get back just to be able to play again in this postseason is really impressive, and just the confidence that he has and we have in him to be able to play in important games and use the skills and be the talented guy that he is. He's big.
What does that say about Mark's willingness? I mean, he played 10 guys in the first quarter. AJ comes in beginning in the second, 11th guy. You don't really see rotations get expanded that much in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, he is confidence in our team. We're a good team. We've played guys all year like that. We're going to be true to ourselves. If Mark says, run, we're going to ask how fast, and we're going to go with it and try to do our best to win the game.
What about when you look at defense reduced your guys' ball movement?
Yeah, some of that was self-inflicted. Like I said, we tried to probably force a couple things when, they played good individual defense, and sometimes you got to tip your cap and respect the defense and keep it moving and play the next side. And some of that's schematically, like they did a good job of trying to jam people, and then, on a couple drives for our secondary players, they're either denying or staying with Shea and not rotating, and it's kind of up to us to just make better reads and make plays. We've done that. We've been a team that's done that all year, so it's not out of the ordinary for us. We've been a freedom of movement, 5 guys live, make a play kind of team all year. So I thought we did better as the game went on. In some of that, is go back and watch film and understand from an omniscient point of view of how they're going to play us and know where to attack it.
Hey, Howie, I know that you're competing with Halliburton right now, but the basketball side of you, you've been watching the first 3 rounds, and now it's you. Can you appreciate the run he's on? If you can remove yourself as a competitor away from it, just appreciate the clutch run he's on?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, he's a competitor. Like, there's a reason he's been an all-star. There's a reason he was on, Team USA. He's not a bad player. He's a really good player. And I think maybe because of his stature, people overlook or, undermine maybe some of his accomplishments. But, he's an all-star in a team that's in the NBA Finals, starting point guard. Like, at least me, I know how good of a player he is. Like, I have respect for that. And obviously, through this run in the playoffs, he's made some big shots and makes some big plays. And that's who he is. He's a competitor. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's a good player.
Actually, I don't know if you looked over at the holding the other night, but Chet understandably looked furious. I just wonder how you've seen him digest losses of that nature and what you've seen from him since then.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone through it a couple of times now in the postseason where we've had disappointing games as a team, individuals. But, one thing I think we've done collectively is, hold each other accountable, hold each other to the standard that we need to hold each other to be a great team and to be great players. And we've always responded. And, part of responding is, picking yourself up, chin up, chest out, lining it back up when the ball goes up and competing again. And, that's something that he's been good at, all postseason, let alone, his young career. With the injuries he's had to go through rehabs and to just fight to get back to play it, like Achilles, a broken hip, like 1 or 2 of those to any player could injure your career easily, could alter your career easily. And for him to come back and play at the level he's playing at, and maybe even, have games where he doesn't play at his best, but compete to get back to that, that should show you who Chet is as an individual.
This is just, kind of the runs that obviously that they've been on. They respond a lot to. You gotta get on a lot of these teams. I've seen these 2 teams. What can you just say about, what do you feel like those factors is that make that team so well-rounded for them to be able to do that and respond unlike any team or how it has to get the score, guys?
Yeah, I mean, Denver took us to 7 games. That was a pretty good response that they had a couple times. And, there's some similarities between those 2 teams as far as just collective belief and in mindset and desire, the competitive greatness that they have. You saw that in Denver, and obviously they've won championships. So they've been there and they've done that. But, Indiana has a lot of that. I think our team has a lot of that. That's probably why we're both in the finals. But yeah, I mean, they kind of mirror, their head coach. I don't know Rick Carlisle very well. I know him just a little bit from competing against him and a small conversation moving around. But, he's a competitive guy. Like he has that chip on his shoulder. He has that competitive drive, and you can see the rest of their team. Like they've done a good job of picking and putting pieces of people that are like that. And it just have it as a collective group. And like I said, I think we have a lot of that too, and that's probably why we're both in the NBA Finals.
Thank you guys.